My name is Leonda Schweitzer. I was born with cerebral palsy. This is my story, and welcome to it.
Leonda Sunny Dawn was born on a hot summer day. When I went into labor with Leonda, it was too early, and I was almost 6 months pregnant, and I felt I had a fever, and I wasn't feeling well, and I could feel the cramp, and I knew that I was gonna be having Leonda earlier than her regular normal birth time. Next thing you know, I was in hospital because of how sick I was. When she was born, she came out. It was a tough labor, even though she was tiny. And she was so tiny when she came out. And she made a little squeak, and I heard that little tiny cry. And I told them, get her to the ICU right away. And so they rushed her off. And they took her, and they had to deal with me because I wasn't feeling well. The fever went extra higher. And I was even to the point where I was delirious, I was hallucinating. And through that, while she was in the ICU, I couldn't even comprehend. There's things that I still can't remember, but I do remember that the fever was so high, and even I thought that the doctors were afraid that I would pass because of the fever and how high it got, and they had to pile blankets on me. I can remember that. Then it finally broke, and then there was the beginning of wanting to see my little Leonda. And I didn't, to be honest, I didn't even pray for her because of the one that I lost previous to her. And I didn't pray for her. I had no hope because I had lost my little son. And Leonda, I didn't even pray for her. I just went from day by day, and she progressed each time, and I still didn't pray because thinking that each day was a risk. It was still hard to accept, and then I watched her as she grew day by day, and then finally one day, every day I went and visit her, went and seen her. She was so tiny. And then one day the doctor called me. It was October 31st, Halloween day. I was told that I could take her out. Come and get her, she's discharged. When I bought Leonda home on October 31st, Halloween day, I was told little things about the sleep apnea, or little things that preemies have. And one day, that when I bought her home, I had her in a swing set, and she was swinging, and I looked at her. I noticed that she wasn't the right color. She was a grayish. She didn't look right, and I looked at her. I got closer to her. She wasn't breathing, and that was the scariest time. And when I put my ear near her little mouth, I couldn't feel that she's breathing, and her color was a gray. So I called 911, the emergency, right away. And watching her, I took her out. She still wasn't, it was like she was lifeless. And then when the ambulance finally came, they looked at her, said, "What did you notice about her?" And I told her everything. Well, she seems fine now. She's smiling. And I really thought that I had lost Leonda. But she was smiling and everything, and I was so scared. And other times, Leonda would just fall asleep. And she would fall asleep and just all of a sudden burst into a scream because she just stopped breathing and fighting to breathe. As she got a little older, like when she was tiny, I had to watch all those. I even carried her into a store, and where all of a sudden I didn't realize that she had stopped breathing. She just burst out screaming in the store. Those were the scariest things to look after and watch a premature child. The health nurse had come by and did this regular checkup with the babies, and that's when she told me that I should take her to the doctor because of her the left side not functioning right, and so I went. So I did. I made an appointment to take her to the doctor. When I took her to the doctor, and the doctor did all the tests and checking her out also, and then that's when she was about probably 6 months or 7 months, and like she wasn't developing as a normal 6 or 7 months would develop. So that's when she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and I didn't understand cerebral palsy, and they explained to me what it was, and I still didn't understand it, but I do know that it was damage of the brain during the childbirth or after even childbirth, and so that's why her left side was the way it was. As the time went on, as she grew and progressed, I noticed little things with her where she couldn't move her left side as all kids do, and I was told that her sight would be no good, that she wouldn't be able to see. And with her, she started to say little words, and then when we were just laying one day outside in the summertime, and she looked up and she could see something we couldn't see, and there was seagulls flying way up high, and she seen those little birds. And so I knew there was nothing wrong with her sight. And the first names that when she started talking, the first words she was saying was her dad's name, Hari, and her brother's name, Kaka. And that's how his name came about. As she got a little older, about 5 years old, and between 5 and 6 years old, she used to always, when she started crawling, and she'd stand and she'd sit, and always sat in a W position. And if you know what a W position is, it's with the legs on the side, and she'd sit like that. And it got to where that her tendons were tight, like she couldn't stand flat feet. She'd be on her tiptoes. So she had to go through a surgery. It's called tendon surgery, and she went through that, where they nicked the back of the tendons and on her, at the back of her knees, where she went through the surgery, just so they could stretch them so she can be flat-footed and upright, straight upright. And she had that surgery, and going through the surgery was even so hard, because I had to stay there with her at the hospital, because she knew her mom, she knew me, and I was always there with her. And when she'd cough, she'd be so much in pain. After that, even so, there was still appointments and everything like that, therapy, and going to Wascana almost like once a month, and just to see how she's doing and how she's progressing, and then the wheelchairs, standing frames, everything for her to accommodate her, to try to be as normal as possible, to do all those things. When she was just little, well, she had splints, and she had all these little things that she had to wear, and leg splints at night, where just to keep her legs straight. And then I could hear the sound of the Velcro coming off, and late at night, because she had to sleep with those on all night just to keep the tendons from so they wouldn't come back, and then where her knees wouldn't go back in bent. And I could hear them. She was so rebellious, even with the exercises. What they'd give her, the therapist would give her exercise, because she'd be screaming because they would stretch her out, but it was to benefit her. And how she didn't like the splits, and she didn't like them on because they were irritating her heels and her legs. But they were to help her, and she was so cute, and I just don't know how to explain that she went through a lot, and it was, and when I think back, it was a little comedy in sort of way, how she even said to the therapist when they were stretching her out, how she even said a bad word because she was getting hurt by the therapist. Now little kids pick up, words, and I know it wasn't from me.
So this is called a splint. I started wearing them when I was 3. This is my first pair. I had to wear them in my shoes, and it was for ankle support, leg support, and walking support. So it's the first pair that I got. As I got older, of course my feet grew, and then they kind of changed the look of them. I apologize for the inside of it. You'd strap it in, but I had to wear these. Can you imagine? I had to wear these for 8 hours of the day during school. Very uncomfortable. Then we moved on to the larger size, and this is my final size. I actually got to pick the design, and there's butterflies, but it bends, and I think it got better as I got older, or as people learned what comfortability was. So no strap on the bottom, just on the top and the bend. And last but not least, I want to talk about my nighttime splints. And these are splints that I had to wear after my surgery. See, they look like this. And you strap them on, and I had to sleep with them all night long. All night, my legs straight like this. It was horrible. I hated my splints, I hated my standing frame, and I hated my walker. But I needed to use the wheelchair, the walker, the splints, and everything like that in order to basically move me forward with my mobility. So I used the standing frame. The standing frame helped me stand up straighter after my surgery and kind of take away the bend in my knees. But I hated it. It was for about 2 hours a day at home and about 30 minutes at school. So imagine being in a standing frame and all eyes on me.
From there on, we had to go through, starting from there, it was extensive hospital visits, therapy. But Leonda had a good mind. Her brain was kept. Her intellect was good. Like, she was talking and saying words as normal conversation. And she was smart. And when she used to ask for something to eat, she wanted me to make macaroni and cheese, but that's not how she would say it. She used to say macariki. I want some macaroni and cheese. And as years went on, surgery on her little body, the tough times that she went through and I went through with her, all this hope and everything, that when I had no hope for her when she was a baby, I had all the hope. She made it this far. And even her principal at Wascana said she seen nothing wrong with Leonda's intellect. She can be out in the public school.